So with everybody jumping on board the silver brush set bonanza that is currently going on this holiday season, I thought I too would provide a review of an affordable silver brush set. And the one that I ended up purchasing is the e.l.f. Silver 11-piece brush set. So this is a really nice full-sized brush collection. I have been using it for the past week or so, and I've got to say that overall, I really do think this is a great purchase, especially for beginners. I'm going to start by talking about the case itself. I actually love this case a lot. I didn't really expect it. I feel like I get a lot of brush sets that come with cases, and they just kind of end up in this pile of cases, but I find that they're not very helpful for travel because for me, I need a lot of brushes to travel. It's just side effects of being a makeup junkie. This case holds 10 brushes of a larger size and even more of the smaller sized brushes. It's just really a good size for somebody who can't quite get away with using a small amount of brushes. As for the brushes themselves, I feel like this is an update to the previous version of this kit in that now it actually does have the names of the brush printed on the handle, which again is going to be really helpful for beginners. Although I don't, in my own experience, completely agree with the names that they chose, and I'll tell you guys why throughout this video. But the brushes do feel nice. They are synthetic hairs. They're pretty soft. I find them to be pretty close to the black-handled brushes. I believe they call these their studio brushes. These are really very nice quality, especially considering they're only $3. These are excellent, but if you're just kind of a little overwhelmed about which brushes to pick out, buying a set like this gives you kind of everything that you need, at least as a starting point. They have about the same amount of weight to them. It's not going to be as luxurious feeling as a more high-end brush, but it's good enough. So just for a couple more comparisons, next to an IT Cosmetics brush, you can see that this likely looks a lot less expensive to manufacture, but it doesn't mean there's a significant difference in, say, the weight of the brush. Even next to the Ulta brush, you can see, you know, they're about the same in terms of quality. I will say that in some ways I do think the Real Techniques brushes are a step up, but they're also a step up in price. So again, it just comes down to what you're looking at, what your price range is. You can buy a 5-piece brush set from Real Techniques for $20, or you can buy an 11-piece brush set from e.l.f. for $30. It's just personal preference, where you're at in your makeup game, that kind of deal. Another point I want to make about this set is that I've not had any issues in washing them. I have not experienced any amount of shedding, and something that I do appreciate with these being the black synthetic hair is that they don't look as dirty as other brushes, and that's kind of a nitpicking point, but it can be something that kind of bothers me at times. Just to show you guys what I mean, this is my IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe brush. It is completely clean, but it is so stained from a lot of use, and you're not going to be able to see it with this type of brush, so I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do in this video is real quickly run through each brush and tell you about its uses and how I use it, and then I'm going to do a demo try-on using a bunch of drugstore products to kind of show you how these brushes work. Let's start with the face brushes. They give you a powder brush, which is the flat surface, and then a complexion brush. Now what I find interesting is that the powder brush, while it does work really well, especially with pressed powder, you can pick up the pressed powder with no issues and apply it pretty easily. I actually think this works well for liquid foundation, and that is a suggested use with it, and you can use this instead for your powder brush if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do to get a full look out of this kit. That's what I would suggest, and this will also work with loose powders or any type of powder. And then you can also use this for final blending. So I kind of see why they went with the names they did, although in some ways they could have also switched up the names of them. The blush brush in this set is a tapered blush brush, which I think some people will really appreciate for the precision that it gives you. For me personally, I think I prefer a bit larger of a blush brush, but that's because I like a lot of blush. This is obviously going to be a more subtle end effect, and I think a lot of people prefer that. It depends on what you're looking for. I think the fan brush in this is all you need. It's actually perfect. I remember a couple years ago when it was actually kind of hard to get your hands on a fan brush. I ended up getting a Smashbox one. I think they're pretty much the same in terms of how they work. This is a little tiny bit more stiff, but it doesn't bother me because you're just trying to apply a light dusting of powder, and with it being a little stiffer, I think you might even get a little more than you would from a softer version of this. I think it'll give you the exact amount of highlight that is currently on trend. Then we have the Flawless Concealer Brush. I think this is a little big for most concealing uses. However, it says in their little guide to also use this as a contour brush, and I think it is perfect for that, especially for cream contour. It really helps you to get a fine line so you don't go overboard with the contouring. I think that's kind of one of the biggest makeup beginner mistakes that I see posted all over the internet. You don't want to go overboard with your contour, especially when you're kind of trying to understand where to put it on yourself. I think this is a perfect beginner contour brush, even more advanced, because it's, for me, the right amount of contour. You do get a small precision brush that I think is perfect for concealing. You could also use this for inner corner highlight. It's very small, but it's kind of really helpful to have a concealer brush that is tiny, even if it takes a little while to conceal a lot. I think it's more versatile than giving you a bigger concealer brush, although granted this kit gives you both options. I think that for me personally, I most often use a concealer brush that is in between these sizes. For example, the Sigma Concealer F60, that is the size that I most commonly use, and you can see how much of a difference there is in the sizes of these. Moving on to the eyeshadow brushes, this kit comes with some of e.l.f.'s most popular eyeshadow brushes, including the crease brush, which is excellent for applying eyeshadow into your contour of your eye, and then a blending brush for blending everything out and all together. It also comes with the eyeshadow C brush. I'm a little mixed on this particular brush. It's a little large for what I prefer. Here it is up next to the Sigma Eye Shading E55. You can see it's just a tad bit bigger. I don't think that it's going to really be a problem for most people. It's just something that I notice is that I, again, typically like a slightly smaller brush. For example, I prefer the MAC 233 for all over the lid application, and you can see it's just a bit smaller. There is a pro, of course, to this being larger, and that is you'll get your eyeshadow done a tad bit faster. The last two brushes in this kit are the Eyebrow Duo Brush and the Small Angled Brush. This is the only kind of criticism I have of this set, is that this is a perfect brow pencil. I love it. It applies your brow product perfectly, and then you can just flip it around and use the spoolie. However, I don't really understand why they're giving you two of almost the same brush. I guess this is something that you could use for either inner corner or liner. However, I think personally, I would just have preferred to have something like this E21 smudge from Sigma. That's really personal preference. I get why they went with the angled brush, but for me, it's just a tad bit redundant. Now I'm going to get into the demo of using these brushes. I'm going to use as many drugstore products from as many drugstore brands as I can cram into this video, but I'm probably not going to show everything on screen, but I am going to tell you about the products just so you know. So I did already start by priming with the Body Shop Vitamin C Skin Boost Instant Smoother. I've been using this as my primer since it really feels like a primer and helps give me a little bit of an extra boost of vitamin C. And then also the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer in Nude. This is really incredible. If you're looking for a super affordable eye primer, I highly recommend this. I cannot believe how long my eyeshadow lasts with this. It also evens out the slight redness on your eyelids. If you have any discoloration on your eyelids, this will help to even that out, and it absolutely extends the wear of eyeshadow. I'm very, very impressed with this. It really does wear quite similarly to my higher end eye primers. I'm going to start with some color correcting today. I've noticed that ever since going bright red, not only is my hair screaming, "I'm red, look at me," it also seems that my redness on my face and any acne that I may have is going, "Oh, don't forget to look at me, I'm here, does everyone see me? Do you see me? I'm red too." So I'm going to be using the LA Girl Pro Conceal in green, which is a $5 color corrector, along with the e.l.f. Small Precision Brush. I have to be really careful about not going overboard with the green color correctors, I think because my skin has a very, very slight olive undertone to it, but that can end up going horribly wrong if I'm not careful with the color correcting. And then I'm really carefully going to dab that out with the Real Technique sponge. For For foundation, I'm going to use the number 7 Airbrush Away Foundation. I think this is a really good drugstore foundation for dry skin, and I'm just going to drip it onto the powder brush, as they call it. Then I'm using the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser that everybody's heard of. This is the shade Fair, and by the way, that serum foundation was Warm Ivory. I'm going to contour with the NYX Wonder Stick in the shade Light. I don't really use, actually I've never used the highlighting side on this. Maybe I'll try it today. But I do use the contour side, and after I apply this, I'm going to blend it out with the Flawless Concealer brush from this kit. My problem with this stick is that it retracts as you're using it. I really like the color. I think it's a good, not too warm contour shade, but I wish it didn't do that. I will say it blends out perfectly. Before I go in with powder, I'm going to spray the Revlon Photo Ready Prep Set Refresh. Forgot what it's called. This is a helpful step if you have dry skin and your powder can look a little cakey. Then I'm going to use the CoverGirl Clean Powder Foundation for normal skin in the shade Ivory, along with the complexion brush from the set. For blush, I'm going to use the Physicians Formula Argan Wear Ultra Nourishing Argan Oil Blush in Natural. It's a super pretty drugstore blush. And of course, the blush brush from the kit, which will give you that very precise line. For highlighting, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Megaglow Illuminating Palette. I'm going to use this champagne color over here with the fan brush from the kit. Moving on to eyes, I'm going to be using the Milani Everyday Eyes eyeshadow collection in 01 Must Have Neutrals. I'm going to start by blending this light shade here into the crease with the crease brush. Then I'm going to use the darker shade in the edges of the crease. I'm taking the eyeshadow C brush and starting with the lighter shade and the inner part of my eyes and working out towards this darker color. I'm going back in with the matte brown and the small angled brush to do liner on the underside of my eye. Then I'm blending everything out with the blending brush. Then I'm going into the matte black shade with the small angled brush after I have spritzed it with my Revlon mist to do a bit of liner. I'm going to be doing my brows next with the Eyebrow Duo brush from the kit and the L'Oreal Brow Stylist in Light Brunette. So of course what I'll be doing is using this side to apply the product and then the spoolie to kind of get it right into place. And then to finish this look off, I used some stuff that's not really relevant to the brush set, but just to let you guys know what I used. This is the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara, the Rimmel Exaggerate Full Color Lip Liner, a ColourPop Lippy Sticks from a Beautycon box in the shade Beautycon, and then finally the Soap & Glory Sexy Mother Pucker. I'm doing a full review on this brand soon, so stay tuned for that. Really loving this. It's a great dupe for the Buxom lip glosses, full-on lip polishes. And then since I do want to be transparent with you guys, I had to bring in a couple high-end products just because I haven't found good dupes yet. Maybe somebody in the comments below will be able to mention a good dupe. But I used the Benefit Highbrow, the Josie Maran Surreal Skin Argan Finishing Balm, which is really helpful for me as a dry skin person, and then the Hourglass Ambient Diffused Light Powder. Overall, I am really pleased with this brush set. I think it's a very good choice for a beginner trying to figure out what brushes to get, just looking for something all-in-one and, you know, extremely on trend with the silver handles. That's all I'm going to say about that. This is honestly a very welcome addition to my brushes. I really need another dual-ended brow brush. And the eye brushes, I'm always short eye brushes because I use so many every single look. And I think the ones in here are really quite good. You guys know I am not sponsored or affiliated with e.l.f. I did buy this set with my own money and I am pleased with it and I do recommend it. And I also bought a second one to give away to you guys. The information on how to win this will be in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. And I do hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, YouTube.